Well, it seems like we are back at the desk today, everybody. If you didn't watch the video last week, I'm going to go ahead and put a card for it right up there in the corner. We talked about rumors regarding Disneyland's Haunted Mansion. Not Walt Disney World's, but Disneyland's. And actually, this week we got some more rumors. Not about the Haunted Mansion, and while last week was a bit of a mixed bag, there were some things that I did like, and there were some things that I didn't like, and there were some things that I absolutely hated. This week, I'm actually happy to say, is looking pretty positive. I'm actually really excited to talk about this. It all looks and sounds, at least, pretty solid. Now, if you've ever watched the Offhand Disney channel before, you know that I love three things around here. We all do. We love the Haunted Mansion. We love living with the land, and we love Tomorrowland. More specifically, though, if we're going to get a little specific, the Tomorrowland People Mover at Disneyland, a ride that doesn't exist anymore. It's closed. It's been broken for a while. And if you all go ahead and look at your calendars right now, hopefully if I timed this right, it is, if you're watching this on the day of uploading, Saturday, July 13th, which means we are under a month away from the fun and rambunctiousness that is the D23 Expo, or as they're calling it this year, D23. I don't know why. It's just, that's the name of the club. And since D23 is kicking into gear, you know that means rumors, and since you know there are rumors abounding about Tomorrowland at Disneyland, I figured why not all of us together get our hopes up yet again for another D23 Tomorrowland announcement. Although this one, my friends, does come with a few caveats. Let me explain. I'm so excited to explain. Do y'all watch Five Fires? If you don't watch Five Fires, you should watch Five Fires, which is why I'm going to put a link to their video on this topic up there above. But I'm going to attribute this rumor to them in the first place. But there are some other sources backing this up, so it could have some validity. It could also not have any validity, and we are doomed to starve as Tomorrowland fans for the rest of eternity. But don't be afraid. There might be a light at the end of the Tomorrowland tunnel, and it might include a people mover. Now, if you've been around here for at least the past 2 years since 2022, you know that I like to get my hopes up about a returning Disneyland people mover. It's been broken for the better part of 2 decades now, and we're still waiting on that fix. And while these Tomorrowland rumors may indicate a people mover, they also might be completely moving away from the idea of a people mover. So just everyone take a deep breath with me. Okay, and now let's move on. This rumor states that as of right now, there are multiple construction companies bidding with Disney to see who will get the honor of building a brand new Tomorrowland, essentially. For those unaware, Disney doesn't have their own construction company that they use to build attractions and restaurants and new lands. Disney contracts that work off to actual construction development companies, who will then work hand in hand, side by side with Disney Imagineers and designers and architects in order to get the land just right. And it's a very important thing that the construction company is the right one for the job. Like for set installation and effect installation on Tiana's Bayou Adventure, Disney doesn't do that themselves. In fact, they contracted it out to a company called Adirondack Studios. So it's not Disney themselves installing every little bit of show theming and doing the rock work. They contract that stuff out. And allegedly, Disney is deciding on which company is going to take the helm behind a new Tomorrowland. Why do I say it like that every time? New Tomorrowland. Stop saying it like that. And so as part of this process, different companies bid and show their repertoire, show what they can do to convince Disney that they are the best construction crew for the job. They are the ones who can tackle the majesty, the wonder, and the excitement of Tomorrowland, because not many construction companies can do that. Trust me, I know. Now, we're not in the permits filed phase of construction quite yet. Like a couple months ago, this channel was essentially just offhand construction permits, where we're talking about expansions being leaked through the publishing of construction permits. They haven't been published yet, if there are any to publish. This is very early stages, which means we might not hear about this at this D23. This rumor could be 100% true, completely accurate, and we still won't hear anything about Tomorrowland at this D23. I mean, I think that's a real possibility, so don't get dismayed if we don't hear anything this year. If we don't hear anything in 2026, then it's time to start panicking, because they're going to go full steam ahead with Disneyland Forward and forget all about Tomorrowland. But the theory is this. Sources say that apparently before Disneyland Forward is meant to get into full steam to start building these expansions to Disneyland and California Adventure, some new resort hotels and everything, that New Tomorrowland is meant to happen first, before Disneyland Forward, which is interesting to me. It's interesting to me because that would mean that Disney's announcement timeline is a bit wonky at the moment, because they have already announced and essentially just sort of confirmed, they said if Disneyland Forward gets approved, this is going to happen, Pandora, or an Avatar experience at Disneyland as part of Disneyland Forward. That has been announced already. We haven't heard a peep, not a single thing on New Tomorrowland. So it makes me wonder if that is true, that they are going to do New Tomorrowland before Pandora, if we will end up getting an announcement at D23. But again, nothing is confirmed, and even if this is real, we might not hear anything. Okay, so what do we have so far? We know that there are rumors of a potential construction company bidding to do a unspecified Tomorrowland revamp at some point in the future, possibly before Disneyland Forward. That's a lot of maybes. But if a construction company successfully places their bid, Disney chooses them to build a new Tomorrowland, and they close down what exists today, what are we going to see as part of this revamp? Will we potentially see a brand new Tomorrowland People Mover? I'm asking you, will we? Sure hope so. Okay, so bundled into this rumor is a little sort of 2-for-1 deal. There is a little bit of information that we have on what this new Tomorrowland will be. This new Tomorrowland project will not be a complete teardown and rebuild like I and a lot of other people are hoping for. Instead, it will be an overhaul of existing infrastructure. That means the People Mover tracks are staying. The show buildings, all staying. Space Mountain could stay anyway. I like Space Mountain. To quote Helmsman Freddy from Twitter, think of it as a higher budget redo, but at the scale of Tomorrowland 98. And oh boy, let me tell you about Tomorrowland 98. In 1998, while Walt Disney World was getting a brand new animal-themed theme park, it was a great time, it was not a zoo, over at Disneyland, guests were instead treated to Tomorrowland 98, a renovation and refresh of Tomorrowland that wasn't quite a complete overhaul, but still sort of brought new life and new kinetic energy to the land. It was the new Tomorrowland before the new Tomorrowland that we are asking for now. Headlining attractions of this old new Tomorrowland included the Astro Orbiter, which still stands there today, the famous French fry rocks, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, and those things. The Rocket Rods opened in 1998, replacing the Tomorrowland People Mover, and we have been trying to reverse that ever since. Also, they painted Space Mountain green for a second there before they realized it looked terrible and painted it white again. So if we're comparing this unannounced new Tomorrowland to this Tomorrowland update from 1998, strap in, folks, buckle your seatbelts because it's gonna be a wild ride, and not the fun kind through the wilderness, through the crazy kind, through outer space probably. But, however, I am an eternal optimist, even though I have been, proven wrong by Disney in the past, in the case of places like Communicore Hall, but I do think they have learned their lesson when it comes to Tomorrowland. I think Walt Disney World's Tomorrowland has aged much nicer than Disneyland's. Still a bit outdated, still a bit corny, but it's still an improvement over Anaheim's nonetheless. I mean, for one, most of the space at the Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland is in use. You have the Monsters, Inc. laugh floor, Stitch's great broom closet. Forget I said that, but as you move deeper into the land, you can see that sort of main hub where the People Mover loads and unloads is sort of the heart of Tomorrowland. You have the People Mover running around above you, you have restaurants underneath that, shops around that, the Carousel of Progress, Space Mountain, and Tron in the back, Buzz off to the side. Every little corner of Tomorrowland is being used. You even got the Speedway. I think the Speedway's overhated. I like the Speedway. I like Autopia. Sue me, okay? I think it's fun to drive a car and not have to worry about people crashing into you. They bump into you, but they don't crash into you. Now, included in this rumor is some speculation as to what we can expect from this new Tomorrowland. I'm going to read off the screen here for a second. We will receive at least one new attraction. Now, a brand new attraction, who knows, a teardown of an existing attraction with a brand new attraction taking its place. It's going to be up to Disney at that point. Star Tours and Space Mountain are going to remain mostly unchanged. Space Mountain, as you know, is getting some updates as the months go by, so I'm assuming that is going to be sort of taken care of by the time they start this new Tomorrowland, just so they can keep Space Mountain open. An overhaul or retheme to Buzz Lightyear, which is very interesting, and the Galactic Grill. And the Tomorrowland Theater will be removed or replaced. With that new attraction, I don't know. Like I said, we have no idea what this entails. But a new attraction sounds fun. If they can add another ride to Tomorrowland without taking one away, that interests me. I mean, I know the footprint of the Tomorrowland Theater isn't exactly massive, but maybe they can keep the Autopia around, shorten it if they absolutely have to, but finding room in Tomorrowland for another new attraction without taking one out, I think is very important. I mean, for crying out loud, Disney already confirmed that the Autopia is switching from gas-powered cars to all electric-powered cars by 2026. That's 2 years. So, I mean, that could kind of line up with this rumor of getting new Tomorrowland sort of out of the way before the big expansion takes place with Disneyland Forward. At least that's my hope. The electrification of Autopia in this case being part of New Tomorrowland. It's not just Autopia that's getting the upgrade. I also think that if this rumor is true, it puts to bed the idea of Tomorrowland attractions from other Magic Kingdom style parks making their way to Disneyland Park. Specifically, I should say, like Tron Light Cycle Run going to Disneyland's Tomorrowland is looking more and more unlikely. I'm not saying it's not coming to Disneyland. If it does end up happening though, it's most likely going to be somewhere else as part of Disneyland Forward. Unless that one new attraction that we're talking about is Tron Light Cycle Run, but I just have no idea where they would put it. It's really, really big. They could shrink it down like they did for Space Mountain when it came to Disneyland, but I'm gonna leave that up to the Imagineers to decide. Most likely, though, it's not going in Tomorrowland. But here's something that does have me sort of interested. If the electrified Autopia upgrade is going to be done by fall of 2026, does that mean the rest of New Tomorrowland will also be done by that same date, or are they going to do it in little pieces? And on top of that, even if they don't do the update in little pieces, bit by bit, since the Autopia update is due for 2026, if they were to announce anything publicly, next month at D23 Expo would be the perfect time to do it. Even just a little bit of Tomorrowland news would probably go a very long way. I know it would for me. And I know it's already been sort of announced. Disney just confirmed that they're doing it, but it hasn't really been announced. You know what I mean? Not with concept art or conversation about what this new Autopia is going to look like. So that is one thing I actually am expecting to hear about at this year's D23 Expo. And I'll talk more about different rumors regarding what I'm expecting to be announced at the parks panels in the coming weeks. Don't worry, we're going to have a predictions video, and I'm going to try my best to stay realistic this year. Okay. But now it's time for that special part of the video where I talk about what you've all been waiting for me to talk about this entire time. With this new idea for a brand new Tomorrowland built within the existing infrastructure that we have today, where does moving people fit into this? How are we going to move people through this new Tomorrowland with ease and with comfortability? Comfort? That's the word. In what way are we going to convey persons throughout New Tomorrowland? In what way may we end up seeing a sort of, I don't know, people mover return to Tomorrowland? And I am so glad you sat with me and listened to me yap for 12 and a half minutes about something that may or may not happen, because now we get to talk about the people mover. And that's what we're all here for, right? That's what I'm here for. The Disneyland People Mover has just been sort of sitting there for decades, empty and abandoned, collecting pine needles and probably a lot of trash and rainwater. It's pretty disgusting. And it just sort of quick little refresher for those of you who haven't watched my past People Mover videos, which is I'm pretty sure impossible at this point. The Rocket Rods were the most recent attraction to occupy that People Mover track that goes all throughout Tomorrowland. It closed in 2001. And one of the reasons for its closure was because the fast-moving Rocket Rods vehicles were damaging the People Mover track that was only meant for these slow-moving sort of train-style ride vehicles. So because there was physical damage being done to the track, it was kind of unsafe to keep operating this attraction, so the entire track has just sort of been abandoned ever since. And it's always stated in People Mover videos and videos talking about bringing back the Disneyland People Mover that it's not just a simple task of putting the trains back on the track and flipping the switch. The entire track most likely will need to be completely torn out and torn down, and a new one will have to be built up in its place. And that's very, very costly and very, very complicated, because the People Mover track, as you can see from all of this footage, is very much intertwined with different show buildings and the infrastructure of Tomorrowland. So you can see like the rust right there. There's a band coming through. The Disneyland band even. And then up there, with that copper sort of railing, is where the People Mover would move up and back into the Innoventions building. That's what I still call it. Okay, Disneyland band, just wait your turn. We can both do what we came here to do, all right? Just let me finish first. God, I actually love the Disneyland band. Remember, the rumor states that the existing infrastructure of Tomorrowland will stay mostly the same. I don't know if mostly means that they're tearing down the People Mover track, but my guess is that they will not be, and that the People Mover is doomed to remain dead for the foreseeable future. And that foreseeable future being even longer than the future that I've told you to imagine the past couple of years talking about this, because this would be New Tomorrowland. We would get New Tomorrowland just without a People Mover, so they'd move on for the next 10, 20 years before maybe going back to the drawing board and saying, okay, let's bring back the People Mover this time. And listen, I know that that isn't the theory or the answer that you all were hoping for when you clicked on this video, but unfortunately, I feel like no People Mover is the most realistic theory, the most realistic option going forward. And it makes me really sad. Can you tell I've been sort of beat down over the years? It's just, I just want the People Mover at Disneyland back so bad, but I don't see a route to Disney bringing back the People Mover without them spending a good amount of money on Tomorrowland right now. And if you look at Disney's past projects and their past changes to projects, you can see that they're not exactly willing to put the money back into the parks, even though the parks are propping up the rest of the company right now, but that's none of my business, okay? The parks are making the most amount of money. I'd like to think that Disney knows if they were going to redo Tomorrowland that the most requested feature would most likely be a People Mover. Space Mountain, I think, is pretty good the way that it is once they fix all of the effects that are currently broken. But you know, public interest is also a really important metric that Disney looks at. That's why all of their rides and lands are based off of existing IPs right now. It's safe because they know people are more likely to enjoy it rather than something brand new and original. That would be a risk, and while we don't have to like it, I know I certainly don't, it's understandable. I get why all of the attractions and lands are going to be based off of IPs. So would Disney be willing to fund an attraction that, one, is not based off of any pre-existing IP, two, only serves to add ambiance and something to do to Tomorrowland, and three, would they be willing to build an attraction that doesn't really lend itself to the Lightning Lane format? Getting a Lightning Lane to a Tomorrowland People Mover would kind of ruin the purpose. It's why Lightning Lane for rides like Spaceship Earth don't really make too much sense to me. You can cash in your Spaceship Earth Lightning Lane and board in 5 minutes, or wait standby for 20 minutes, or they could just get rid of Lightning Lane entirely and everybody waits like 8 minutes. It makes more sense to me not to have it for some rides. I mean, they could make the People Mover a Lightning Lane ride, but I mean, will they? And that's not even to mention the tremendous price tag it would cost Disney to rebuild or reopen a brand new type of People Mover. They'd want to make that money back somehow, and Lightning Lane is the most obvious way to do that on a per attraction basis. I don't know, it just doesn't make logistical sense, but it makes creative sense in my heart. It would be a nice goodwill token from Disney to say that yes, we're still listening, and yes, we care about the guest experience. This ride does not feature Lightning Lane. Get in line whenever you want. Go ride the People Mover. It'll be a great time. But is Disney still in that mindset? I'm going to let you decide, because I certainly do have my own thoughts. And actually, a quick last-minute update. Disney announced that the Experiences Showcase at D23 Expo this year is going to be called Horizons. Like, Horizons. Also, the poster doesn't feature Spaceship Earth, unless the sun is supposed to be Spaceship Earth. It also doesn't feature Disney Sea, so I don't know what's going on here. I am very clueless as to what we can expect going into this panel at this point. Anything could happen. But now I will turn the question over to you, my friends. Do you think this new Tomorrowland rumor has any validity, or do you think that's just the Tomorrowland rumors that circulate every year before D23 Expo, just circulating once again? Because part of me is sort of leaning that way. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and what you would like to see as part of this new Tomorrowland overhaul or expansion, what you would like to see changed, added, or completely removed. I'm actually very curious. If you're asking me, continuity is kind of overrated, but that doesn't matter. I just think we should just keep our heads in the right spot, stay positive about the whole People Mover situation, hope for the best, but expect a People Mover that will never return to Disneyland. That is the state I'm in right now. That being said, my D23 predictions video might differ just a little bit with the pie in the sky, blue sky, wish upon a star ideas that I have coming down the line. So otherwise, we're just going to go to the end card now. And as you know, since we are at the desk today, that means it is underneath the desk, which is always my favorite part of the video. It's always a struggle getting down to the end card. I hate it down here. Hey there, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this video. I sure hope you enjoyed it. Just another rumor video. We're in that D23 season, so a bunch of rumors are going to start popping up, and I like to talk about them. Are they true? I don't know. I'm just hoping that we end up getting a new Tomorrowland, and I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the like button, and if you're new around here and you want more videos like this discussing the rumor mill of the Disney parks, not necessarily just Disneyland, hit that subscribe button. A very special thank you, as always, to my Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/offhanddisney. They get early access to videos, exclusive videos for just $1 a month, and you can pledge more or less depending on how you're feeling. If you want to join their ranks and get access to some cool stuff, head over there. There's also going to be a link in the description. If you'd rather follow me for free, though, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, @offhanddisney, just to make it a bit easier. But that, I think, is all of the business out of the way. Everyone, thank you all so much for watching this rumor video. Again, we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.